My friends, tonight, I want to tell you something that will revolutionize your entire understanding of imagination. Something so profound, so simple, yet so overlooked, that most of humanity sleeps through life, never discovering this divine secret. Every time you imagine, truly imagine, you are not daydreaming. You are not merely entertaining yourself with pleasant fantasies. No, my friend, you are doing something far more sacred, far more powerful than you have ever been taught to believe. You are tuning your radio into the station of your desire. Stop for a moment and consider this. When you turn the dial on your radio and tune into a particular station, that music, that program, was already being broadcast. It was already there, waiting for you to find the right frequency. Your radio didn't create the music. It simply tuned into what was already being transmitted through the invisible airwaves. So it is with imagination. The Bible tells us that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Tonight, I will show you that your imagination is that very faith. Your imagination is the divine substance from which all things are formed. Let me tell you about a woman who came to one of my lectures. She was 45 years old, had been single for 15 years, and had given up all hope of ever finding love. "Mr. Goddard," she said, "I've tried everything. I've been to every social gathering. I've asked friends to introduce me to suitable men. Nothing works. I'm destined to be alone." I looked at her and asked one simple question. "What station is your imagination tuned into?" She looked puzzled. "I don't understand." "Every night," I said, "when you go to bed, what do you imagine about your romantic life?" Her face fell. "Well, I suppose I imagine coming home to an empty apartment, eating dinner alone, wondering why I can't find someone who loves me." "Madam," I told her, "you have tuned your imagination to the station of loneliness, and you are faithfully broadcasting that frequency 24 hours a day. The universe has no choice but to give you more of what you're broadcasting." 6 months later, that same woman wrote to me. She was engaged to a wonderful man who adored her. What changed? Not her circumstances, not her appearance, not her social situation. She learned how to change the station. Tonight, I want to reveal to you the precise method by which imagination operates. I want to show you how every image you form in your mind becomes a tuning fork that attracts its physical counterpart. And most importantly, I want to give you the exact technique to consciously select the station of your desire and remain faithful to its frequency. But first, let me ask you, have you ever noticed that some people seem to effortlessly attract what they want, while others struggle and strain and never get ahead? The difference is not education. It's not luck. It's not even hard work. The difference is that they know how to tune their imagination to the frequency of their fulfilled desire. Your imagination, my friend, is like a magnificent radio receiver. But unlike the radio in your living room, your consciousness can tune into any station in the infinite broadcasting system of God's universe. Think of it this way. Right now, at this very moment, there are dozens of radio programs being broadcast through the air around you. Music, news, drama, comedy, all of it is there, waiting for you to tune in. But if your radio is set to station 75.2 FM, you will only hear what's playing on 75.2 FM. You won't hear the beautiful symphony being broadcast on 92.5 FM, even though it's there. So it is with the states of consciousness. There is a state called wealth, broadcasting its program right now. There is a state called perfect health, playing its healing frequency this very moment. There is a state called ideal love, transmitting its beautiful story of romance and companionship. All of these states exist right now. They are as real as the radio waves carrying music through your room. The only question is, which one are you tuned into? When you imagine something, when you see it clearly in your mind's eye, you are turning the dial of your consciousness to tune into a parallel reality where that desire is already fulfilled. You are picking up the broadcast from a version of yourself who is already living that life. This is not poetry. This is not metaphor. This is the actual mechanism by which the unseen becomes seen, by which the desired becomes the experienced. Scripture says, "In my Father's house are many mansions. What are these mansions but different states of consciousness? Different stations broadcasting different realities. And Christ said, I go to prepare a place for you. That place is prepared the moment you tune into it with your imagination. Most people spend their entire lives tuned into the station called lack or struggle, or I cannot have what I want. They listen to this dreary program day after day, year after year, wondering why their life never changes. They complain about the programming, but they never think to change the station. But tonight, I'm going to show you how to change the station using 3 simple words that will transform your entire existence. See it, feel it, be it. Before I give you the technique, let me warn you about the fatal mistake that keeps 99% of humanity trapped in unwanted realities. They tune into their desire for a moment. Perhaps they imagine being wealthy for a few seconds, and then immediately they look around at their present circumstances. They see their bills, their empty bank account, their struggling business, and they say, well, that was nice to imagine, but it's not real. My friend, when you do this, you have committed spiritual suicide. You have tuned into the station of your heart's desire, begun to hear its beautiful music, and then immediately switched back to the static of your present conditions. I once knew a man who dreamed of owning his own business. Every morning on his way to his factory job, he would imagine for a few minutes what it would be like to be his own boss. But then he would arrive at work, see his supervisor, punch his time card, and say to himself, stop dreaming. You're just a factory worker. You'll never have your own business. For 20 years, he did this. 20 years of tuning into success for 5 minutes, and then tuning into limitation for the remaining 23 hours and 55 minutes of his day. One day I asked him, if you owned a radio and wanted to hear a symphony, would you tune into the classical station for 30 seconds and then immediately turn to a station playing static for the rest of the evening? Of course not, he replied. That would be foolish. Then why? I asked. Do you tune into the station of business success for 5 minutes each morning and then immediately return to the station of I'm just a factory worker for the rest of your day? That man learned to remain faithful to his desired station. Within 2 years, he owned 3 successful businesses. The difference was not opportunity. The difference was faithfulness to the frequency of his fulfilled desire. When you desire something, the first step is to see it, not just glance at it quickly in your mind and then return to your problems. No, you must see it as clearly as if you were looking at a photograph in your family album. Most people, when they try to imagine, make a crucial error. They imagine themselves wanting the thing. They see themselves hoping for it, wishing for it, trying to get it. This is completely wrong. When you imagine yourself wanting something, you are tuning into the station called wanting, and the universe will give you more wanting. Instead, you must imagine the thing as already accomplished. You must see yourself already having it, already being it, already living in the fulfillment of your desire. If you desire a new home, don't imagine yourself looking at houses, hoping to find one you can afford. Instead, imagine yourself already living in your ideal home. See yourself having breakfast in your beautiful kitchen. See yourself entertaining friends in your lovely living room. See yourself sleeping peacefully in your perfect bedroom. Imagine you're at the cinema, watching a moving picture of your life. But in this picture, you already have what you desire. You already are who you want to be. You are watching yourself living in the fulfillment of your wish. Make this mental picture as vivid as a memory. See the colors, notice the details, observe the furniture, feel the textures. The more real you make it in imagination, the stronger the signal you are receiving from that station. Now here's where most people fail miserably. They see it for a moment, perhaps 5 or 10 seconds. And then they immediately look around at their present circumstances. They see their current apartment, their present income, their existing situation, and they say, well, it's not here, so it must not be real. But my friend, when you do this, you've immediately tuned away from the station of your desire and back to the station of your current conditions. You must learn to hold that vision. When you see your desire clearly for 20 or 30 seconds, when you really dwell in that mental picture, You begin to pick up the broadcast more clearly. The signal becomes stronger. But seeing alone will not bring it into your world. You must move to the second stage. And this is where the real transformation begins. The longer you tune into the station of your desire, the more clearly you begin to hear the program. And in consciousness, hearing the program means feeling what it would be like to already have your desire fulfilled. This is the crucial point that separates those who manifest their desires from those who merely daydream about them. Listen to me carefully. You can see your desire accomplished in imagination all day long, but if you don't feel the reality of it, you are merely entertaining yourself with pleasant pictures. The feeling is what gives life to the vision. The feeling is what makes it real in consciousness. A young man once came to me seeking financial abundance. He said, "Mr. Goddard, I imagine being wealthy every day. I see myself with money. I see myself in expensive clothes. I see myself in a beautiful car, but nothing happens. Why?" I asked him, "When you see yourself with these things, how do you feel?" He thought for a moment. "Well, I feel hopeful that someday I might have them." "There's your problem," I told him. "You're not feeling wealthy. You're feeling hopeful. Hope is the feeling of someone who doesn't have something but wishes they did. You're broadcasting on the frequency of "I don't have it, but I hope to get it." And the universe is responding by giving you more hoping and waiting. I taught him to feel as though he already possessed great wealth, to feel grateful for the money he already had in consciousness, to feel the satisfaction, the security, the joy of being abundantly provided for. Within 6 months, he received an unexpected inheritance that made him financially independent for life. When you begin to feel your desire as already accomplished, you are no longer merely watching the moving picture of your fulfilled life. You are stepping into that picture. You are becoming the person in that scene. What would it feel like to wake up tomorrow already having what you desire? What would it feel like to move through your day as the person who already possesses this thing? How would you feel about yourself? How would you feel about your life? If you desire health, feel the vitality coursing through your body. Feel the strength in your muscles, the clarity in your mind, the energy in your step. Don't feel like someone who is sick hoping to get well. Feel like someone who is vibrantly, gloriously healthy. If you desire love, feel the warmth of being cherished, the security of being wanted, the joy of sharing your life with someone who adores you. Don't feel lonely hoping for love. Feel loved, completely and unconditionally. If you desire success, feel the satisfaction of achievement, the confidence of capability, the pride of accomplishment. Don't feel like a failure hoping for success. Feel successful, valuable, important. This feeling, this is the secret that unlocks every door in the mansion of manifestation. This feeling is what changes you from the person who wants into the person who has. When you feel as though your desire is already fulfilled, you have tuned into that station so clearly that you are now broadcasting on the same frequency. Now listen to me carefully. Once you begin to feel the reality of your fulfilled desire, you must not under any circumstances tune back to the station of your present conditions. Do not look at your bank account. Do not examine your present circumstances. Do not ask, "Where is it? Why hasn't it appeared yet?" When you do this, you are changing the station back to your old reality. You are tuning away from the answer and back to the problem. Instead, you must luxuriate in this feeling. You must wallow in the joy of already having what you desire. Feel grateful for it. Feel satisfied by it. Feel as though your prayer has already been answered. Carry this feeling with you as you go about your day. Let it color every thought, every action, every response. Become so familiar with this feeling that it becomes more real to you than your present circumstances. And then, my friend, something miraculous begins to happen. When you can truly feel your desire as already fulfilled, you naturally begin to be the person who has that thing. You begin to think as that person thinks, to act as that person acts, to respond as that person responds. This is the final stage, being it. Scripture tells us, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." This is that transformation. You are no longer the person who wants, you have become the person who has. When you are truly being your fulfilled desire, your entire world begins to reorganize itself to match this new state of consciousness. You are now broadcasting on a different frequency, and the universe must respond to the station you are transmitting. It's a law as reliable as gravity. The state you embody in consciousness must manifest in your world of experience. You begin to act like a wealthy person before the wealth appears in your bank account. Not by spending money you don't have, but by carrying yourself with the dignity of someone who knows they are provided for. You speak with the confidence of someone who has financial security. You make decisions from a place of abundance rather than lack. You carry yourself like a loved person before love manifests in your world. You treat yourself with the kindness you would show to someone precious. You speak about yourself the way someone who is cherished would speak. You expect good things to happen to you, because that's what happens to people who are beloved. You walk like a successful person before the success becomes obvious to others. You hold your head high with the bearing of someone who knows their worth. You approach challenges with the confidence of someone who expects to overcome them. You speak with the authority of someone who has something valuable to offer. This is not pretense. This is not acting as if. This is not fake it till you make it. This is you literally becoming the person who already possesses your desire in consciousness. The person you are being is not a role you are playing. It is who you actually are in the reality where your desire is fulfilled. You are simply choosing to tune into that version of yourself and remain faithful to that frequency. And because consciousness is the only reality, because all things exist first in imagination before they appear in the world of form, your physical world must reshape itself to conform to this new state of being. It has no choice. The physical world is simply consciousness made visible. Change your consciousness, and your world must change. My friends, what I am giving you tonight is not merely a technique, it is the sacred art of assumption. You must learn to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, and then persist in that assumption, regardless of what your senses tell you. Jesus said, "Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Notice the tense. Believe that you have received it, not believe that you will receive it. This is the technique I am teaching you. Assume it is already yours. Feel it as already accomplished. Be it as already realized. I have watched this transform thousands of lives. The woman who assumed she was a successful actress and felt the thrill of standing ovations night after night in her imagination. She is now starring on Broadway. The man who assumed he was a published author and felt the satisfaction of holding his book in his hands. His novel is now being read by millions. The couple who assumed they owned their dream home and felt the joy of living in it every night before sleep, they now have the keys to that very house. What made the difference? They didn't wait for evidence in their physical world. They didn't look for proof that it was working. They simply remained faithful to the feeling of their wish fulfilled. They understood that consciousness is the only reality, and everything else is just consciousness expressing itself in form. Now, let me give you the exact technique. Choose something you desire, something that would make you genuinely happy, something that excites you when you think about it. It doesn't matter if it seems impossible. It doesn't matter if you can't see how it could happen. All that matters is that it would bring you joy to have it. Step 1. See it. Find the station. Close your eyes and construct a scene that would naturally occur if your desire were already fulfilled. Don't imagine yourself getting the thing. Imagine yourself already having it. If you desire a new job, don't imagine the interview. Imagine yourself already working at that job, enjoying the work, receiving congratulations from colleagues on your excellent performance. If you desire marriage, don't imagine meeting someone. Imagine yourself already married. Perhaps putting on your wedding ring each morning, or having your spouse kiss you goodbye before work. If you desire health, don't imagine going to the doctor for a clean bill of health. Imagine yourself already healthy, perhaps running upstairs without getting winded, or looking in the mirror and loving what you see. Make this scene as vivid as a memory of something that actually happened to you. See the details. Notice the colors. Feel the textures. Hear the sounds. The more real you make it, the stronger the signal. Hold this picture steadily, for at least 30 seconds. Don't let your mind wander to problems or present circumstances. Stay focused on this beautiful scene of fulfillment. Step 2. Feel it. Hear the program broadcasting. Now step into that scene. Don't just watch it. Be in it. Feel what it would feel like to be there, to have this desire fulfilled. Feel the satisfaction, the joy, the gratitude, the naturalness of already having what you want. Let this feeling fill your entire being until it becomes more real than your present circumstances. If you're imagining success, feel successful. Feel proud, accomplished, valuable, important. If you're imagining love, feel cherished, wanted, appreciated, adored. If you're imagining abundance, feel abundant, feel secure, provided for, generous, free. Don't just think these feelings, experience them as though they are happening right now. Step 3. Become it. Broadcast on the new frequency. From this feeling state, live as though this is your reality. When you open your eyes, carry this feeling with you. Don't drop it and return to your old state. Respond to your world as the person who already has this thing. Think the thoughts such a person would think. Make the decisions such a person would make. Carry yourself the way such a person would carry themselves. Do not look for immediate proof in your physical world. Do not check your circumstances to see if it's working. This is like tuning into a beautiful music program and then immediately changing the station to static to see if the music is still there. Trust the process. Remain faithful to the feeling of your fulfilled desire, regardless of what your senses tell you. My friends, here is where your faith will be tested. Here is where the sheep are separated from the goats, where those who truly understand this teaching are distinguished from those who merely play with it. Your old circumstances will persist for a time. Your bank account will still show the same balance. Your relationship status will appear unchanged. Your health may seem no different. This is the critical moment. This is when most people abandon the process and return to their old state of consciousness. But you must persist. You must remain faithful to your new state, regardless of what your senses report. Remember, your senses can only report what has already been created by your previous states of consciousness. The external world is always the last to conform to your change of consciousness. First you change within, then the world reflects that change without. Abraham hoped against hope and called those things which be not as though they were. This is your example. You must call your desire accomplished, even when your senses deny it. I remember a woman who desired to heal from a serious illness. She faithfully practiced this technique, seeing herself healthy, feeling vibrant and strong, being the picture of perfect health. For weeks, her symptoms remained. Her doctors saw no improvement. Her family worried that she was deluding herself, but she persisted. Every night she fell asleep, feeling grateful for her perfect health. Every morning, she awoke expecting to feel wonderful. Every day she carried herself as a healthy person would. Then one morning, she woke up completely healed. Every symptom was gone. Her doctors called it a miracle. It was no miracle, it was the natural result of remaining faithful to her desired state of consciousness. When you truly understand this teaching, when you really grasp that consciousness is the only reality, and that imagination creates the world, you will never again feel helpless or hopeless. You will know that no matter what your present circumstances, you have the power to tune into any reality you desire. You have access to every station in God's infinite broadcasting system. Poverty is just a station you can tune away from. Loneliness is just a frequency you can change. Sickness is just a program you can turn off. Failure is just a broadcast you can stop listening to. Every state you desire is available to you right now. Wealth is broadcasting its abundance. Love is transmitting its warmth. Health is radiating its vitality. Success is sharing its triumph. All you have to do is tune in and remain faithful to the frequency. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. The asking is the imagining. The seeking is the feeling. The knocking is the being. When you see it, feel it, and be it, you have asked, sought, and knocked. The universe must respond. Tonight, before you sleep, I want you to practice this divine art. Choose one desire, just one, and apply this technique for at least 10 minutes. Don't rush through it. Take your time to construct a beautiful scene of fulfillment. Really see yourself in that scene. Feel what it would be like to be there. Then carry that feeling into sleep. Do this for 7 consecutive nights. Don't look for results. Don't check your progress. Don't ask when it will happen. Simply remain faithful to the feeling of your wish fulfilled. If doubts arise, dismiss them. If circumstances seem to contradict your imagining, ignore them. If people tell you you're being unrealistic, smile and continue with your practice. Within days, you will begin to notice changes. Small at first, perhaps, but unmistakable. Your actions will change because your state has changed. Opportunities will appear because you are now broadcasting on a different frequency. People will respond to you differently because you are now being a different person. When these changes begin to appear, and they will, simply accept them as natural consequences of your new state of being. Don't be surprised. Don't think it's coincidence. Know that consciousness is the only reality, and you have simply tuned into a different station. Each time you notice evidence of your changing reality, let it increase your faith. Let it strengthen your conviction in this divine power. Let it encourage you to persist in your practice. But don't become dependent on the evidence. The evidence is wonderful, but it's not necessary for your faith. Your faith should rest on the truth that consciousness creates reality, not on whether you can see immediate proof. Before I send you forth to practice this divine art, let me give you 3 sacred rules that will determine your success or failure. Rule 1. Never mix your states. Do not imagine being wealthy in the morning and then spend the afternoon complaining about being poor. Do not feel love during your meditation and then spend the evening feeling lonely. Choose your state and remain faithful to it throughout the day. Rule 2. Ignore contrary evidence. When your senses report something that contradicts your imagined reality, give no attention to the report. Your senses can only tell you about the past. Your imagination is creating the future. Rule 3. Persist until it hardens into fact. Don't abandon your desired state when it doesn't manifest immediately. Consciousness is the only reality, but it takes time for that reality to harden into physical fact. Persist in your assumption until it becomes your natural state. The greatest secret I can share with you, greater than any treasure, more valuable than any earthly possession, is this. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are not at the mercy of the world around you. You are not subject to the whims of fate or the accidents of birth. You are the operant power in your own experience. You are the author of your own story. You are the artist painting on the canvas of your life. Your imagination is not a faculty for entertainment. It is not a way to pass time or escape reality. Your imagination is the very creative power of God within you. It is the workshop where all things are made. It is the studio where your life is designed. Every time you imagine lovingly, every time you see and feel and become your heart's desire, you are wielding the same power that spoke the universe into existence. Genesis tells us that man was made in the image of God. What is the image of God? The power to create through imagination and word. And God said, "Let there be," and there was. When you say, "Let there be love in my life," and imagine it with feeling, you are using that same creative power. When you say, "Let there be abundance in my experience," and feel the reality of it, you are speaking with the voice of God. You don't have to wait for permission from anyone. You don't have to earn your desires through suffering or struggle. You don't have to prove yourself worthy to some external authority. The kingdom of heaven is within you, and your imagination is the key to every door in that kingdom. Every state you desire is yours for the claiming. Every dream you hold is yours for the living. You are not here to live a life of quiet desperation. You are not here to settle for less than your heart's desire. You are here to discover the divine power within you and use it to create a life of joy, abundance, love, and fulfillment. The only question is, what station will you tune into tonight? Go now and practice this divine art. See it, feel it, be it. Make your imagination your best friend and most trusted advisor. Let it show you possibilities you never dreamed were available to you. Remember, your future is not something that happens to you. It is something you tune into with your divine imagination. May you never again doubt your power to create your reality. May you never again accept less than your heart's desire. May you always remember that consciousness is the only reality, and you are the master of your consciousness. Go in peace. Go in power. Go in the absolute certainty that you are the operant power in your own experience. The world is waiting to see what you will choose to create.
Good evening, my friends. Tonight I am going to take you on a journey beyond the physical world you think is real. I am going to show you a dimension that exists right now, in this very moment, where every version of your life already exists in perfect completion. This dimension is not somewhere far away. It is not in some distant galaxy or alternate universe. It is here now, accessible to you this very instant. And once you learn to enter this dimension and operate from it, manifestation becomes not just possible, but inevitable and instantaneous. I call this dimension the 5D world, the dimension of infinite possibilities. And tonight you will learn not only that it exists, but how to consciously enter it, navigate it, and bring back from it anything you desire into your physical reality. But I must warn you, what I am about to teach you will shatter everything you thought you knew about reality, time, space, and your own power as a conscious creator. Are you ready to leave behind the limitations of the 3D world and step into the infinite? Then let us begin. Now, before we can understand the 5D world, you must first understand the prison that most people live in without even knowing it. This prison has 3 dimensions, and it is so convincing, so seemingly solid, that billions of people never even question its walls. The first dimension is the dimension of physical form. This is the world of matter, of solid objects, of bodies and buildings, and all the things you can touch with your hands. Most people believe this is the only real dimension, that what you can see and touch is all that exists. The second dimension is the dimension of linear time. In this dimension, time moves in only one direction, from past through present to future. You believe you are trapped in this timeline, that yesterday is gone forever and tomorrow has not yet arrived. You believe you must wait for things to happen, that change takes time, that your past determines your future. The third dimension is the dimension of apparent causation. In this dimension, things seem to happen because of external causes. You are poor because of the economy. You are sick because of genetics. You are alone because you have not met the right person. Everything appears to be caused by something outside of you. These 3 dimensions together create what I call the 3D world. And in the 3D world, you are powerless. You are a victim of circumstances. You are subject to the laws of physics, the passage of time, and the actions of other people. You are trapped, limited, and struggling. But here is the truth that will set you free. The 3D world is not the primary reality. It is the shadow, the reflection, the effect. It is what appears when you do not know about the higher dimensions. Now, between the 3D world of physical limitation and the 5D world of infinite possibility lies a bridge. This bridge is what I call the 4D world, the dimension of imagination. In the 4D world, you are no longer bound by physical form. You can be anywhere, be anyone, have anything in an instant. In your imagination, you can be wealthy. You can be loved. You can experience any version of reality you choose. Most people visit the 4D world constantly, but they dismiss it as just imagination, as fantasy, as unreal. They think that their nighttime dreams and their daydreams are meaningless, that only the solid 3D world is real. But I tell you, the 4D world is more real than the 3D world, because the 4D world is where creation happens. Everything that exists in the 3D world was first created in the 4D world of imagination. The chair you sit in, the building you occupy, the house you live in, all of it existed first as imagination before it became physical form. Someone imagined it, and then the 3D world materialized it. But here is what most people do not understand. The 4D world is not just a place to daydream. It is the creative workshop where you can consciously design your reality before it appears in the 3D world. When you learn to use the 4D world intentionally, when you understand that your imagination is not fantasy but the actual mechanism of creation, you begin to have power over your 3D circumstances. But even the 4D world is not the ultimate reality. Beyond the 4D world of imagination lies something far more profound, far more powerful. This is the 5D world, the dimension where all possibilities exist simultaneously in eternal completion. The 5D world is unlike anything you have experienced in the 3D or 4D realms. In the 5D world there is no time, there is no space, there is no becoming, only being. There is no future to wait for, no past to regret. There is only the eternal now where all things already are. In the 5D world, every possible version of your life exists right now. The wealthy version of you is there. The healthy version of you is there. The loved, successful, fulfilled version of you is there. Not as potential, not as possibility, but as already accomplished reality. Think of the 5D world like a vast library containing every book that could ever be written. Every story, every outcome, every version of your life is a book on the shelf, complete and finished. You are not writing these books. They already exist. Your job is simply to select which book you will read, which reality you will experience. In the 3D world, you believe you must create your desires, that you must work to bring them into existence. In the 4D world, you use imagination to design what you want. But in the 5D world, you simply recognize that what you desire already exists in perfect completion, and you claim it as your reality. This is the great secret. You are not creating anything. You are selecting from infinite pre-existing possibilities. You are not manifesting. You are choosing which already manifested reality you will experience. And when you understand this, when you can consciously enter the 5D world and operate from it, manifestation becomes instant. Because you are not waiting for something to be created. You are simply claiming what already is. Let me explain to you the mechanics of the 5D world, because understanding how it works is essential to using it. In the 5D world, everything exists as pure consciousness, pure potentiality, pure being. There is no form yet, no manifestation in the physical sense, but there is complete and total reality at the level of consciousness. Imagine a radio dial with infinite stations, each station broadcasting a different reality. The reality where you are wealthy is one station. The reality where you are poor is another station. The reality where you are healthy, loved, successful. Each is its own station, all broadcasting simultaneously. In the 3D world, you can only hear one station at a time, the one you are currently tuned to. And because you only hear one station, you believe that is the only reality that exists. But in the 5D world, all stations are broadcasting right now. All realities exist simultaneously. The question is not which reality will come into existence. The question is which reality will you tune into. Your consciousness is the dial. Your assumptions, your beliefs, your habitual thoughts and feelings determine which station you are tuned to. And whichever station you tune to in the 5D world, that is what appears in your 3D experience. Most people are tuned to the station of their current circumstances. They see poverty, so they stay tuned to the poverty station. They experience loneliness, so they remain tuned to the loneliness station. They do not realize they can change the station at any moment. But when you become conscious of the 5D world, when you understand that you can choose which reality to tune into, everything changes. You are no longer a victim of circumstances. You are the conscious selector of your reality. So how do you actually enter the 5D world? How do you access this dimension where all possibilities exist? The answer is both simple and profound. You enter the 5D world through the doorway of assumption. When you assume something is already true, when you claim a reality as already existing, you are operating from the 5D world. Let me be very specific about how this works. First, you must identify which reality you wish to experience. Not what you want to create, but which already existing reality you wish to claim. Do you wish to experience the reality where you are wealthy, where you are loved, where you are healthy? Second, you must recognize that this reality already exists in the 5D world. It is not something you need to make happen. It is not something you need to manifest. It already is. The wealthy you already exists. The loved you already exists. These are not future possibilities. They are present realities in the dimension of infinite possibilities. Third, you must claim this reality as yours. Not through effort, not through trying to bring it to you, but through simple assumption. You assume this is your reality. You take it as a given fact. You accept it as already true. This assumption is the key that unlocks the door to the 5D world. When you truly assume something is yours, when you claim an already existing reality, you shift your consciousness to that frequency, to that station. And once you are tuned to that station in the 5D world, it must appear in your 3D experience. But here's where most people fail. They try to assume while still identifying with their 3D circumstances. They try to claim the wealthy reality while still seeing themselves as poor. They try to tune to the love station while still feeling lonely. You cannot be in two places at once. You cannot be tuned to two stations simultaneously. You must completely shift your identification from the 3D reality you are experiencing to the 5D reality you are claiming. This brings us to the most important practice, learning to live from the 5D world rather than from the 3D world. Living from the 3D world means you base your thoughts, feelings, and actions on what you currently see in your physical reality. You look at your bank account and think poor thoughts. You notice your empty bed and feel lonely. You check the mirror and think sick thoughts. You are living from the 3D evidence. Living from the 5D world means you base your thoughts, feelings, and actions on the reality you have claimed in the dimension of infinite possibilities. Regardless of what the 3D world shows you, you think, feel, and act from the reality you have selected in the 5D world. When you live from the 5D world, your bank account may show lack, but you think from wealth. Your current circumstances may show loneliness, but you feel from love. Your body may show symptoms, but you identify with the health that already exists in the 5D reality you have claimed. This is not denial. This is not pretending. This is recognizing that the 3D world is showing you yesterday's reality, the old station you were tuned to. But you have now tuned to a new station in the 5D world, and you are waiting for the 3D world to catch up and reflect this new reality. Let me give you a practical example. A man came to me who wanted to experience financial abundance. He had been trying to manifest money for years with no success. He visualized, he affirmed, he worked techniques. Nothing changed. I said to him, stop trying to manifest money. Instead, recognize that in the 5D world, the reality where you are abundantly wealthy already exists right now. Your job is not to create this reality. Your job is to claim it and live from it. I taught him to spend time each day consciously entering the 5D world in his imagination. He would close his eyes and recognize in the infinite dimension of possibilities there exists a version of me who is abundantly wealthy. That version is as real as any other version. And I now claim that version as my reality. Then throughout his day, whenever his 3D circumstances tried to pull him back into the consciousness of lack, he would remember, I am living from the 5D reality of abundance. What I see in 3D is old news, yesterday's reflection. My new reality is already established in the 5D world and is now making its way into my 3D experience. Within 3 months, money came to him in ways he never expected. Not because he manifested it, but because he tuned into the station where he was already wealthy, and the 3D world reflected this new frequency. One of the most powerful aspects of the 5D world is that time does not exist there. In the 5D dimension, everything exists in the eternal now. Past, present, and future are simultaneous. This means that what you call your future already exists in the 5D world. The life you will be living 5 years from now already exists. Right now in the dimension of infinite possibilities. You are not creating your future. Your future already exists. You are simply selecting which future you will experience. This is why I teach that you can collapse time. When you claim a reality in the 5D world, you are not waiting for it to be created and then appear in your future. You are claiming something that already exists, and the 3D world simply updates to reflect this reality. And the speed at which a 5D reality appears in your 3D experience depends on the intensity and consistency of your assumption. The more completely you live from the 5D reality you have claimed, the faster the 3D world conforms. But understand this, the moment you claim a reality in the 5D world, it is done, it is finished, it is already yours. The appearance in 3D is simply a matter of the denser, slower dimension catching up with the higher, faster dimension. You think of it like watching a video. When you select a video to watch, the entire video already exists on the tape. But your screen can only display it frame by frame, moment by moment. You are not creating the video as you watch it. The video is already complete. You are simply experiencing it in sequence. The same is true for your life. When you claim a reality in the 5D world, the entire reality already exists complete and finished. Your 3D experience is simply playing it out frame by frame, moment by moment. But it is already done the instant you claim it. Here is something profound to understand about the 5D world. Infinite versions of you already exist there. There is a version of you who is wealthy, a version who is poor, a version who is healthy, a version who is sick, a version who is loved, a version who is alone. All of these versions are real. All of them exist right now in the 5D world. The question is not which version will come into existence. The question is which version are you identifying with? Most people identify with the version of themselves that matches their current 3D circumstances. If they are poor in 3D, they identify with the poor version of themselves. If they are sick in 3D, they identify with the sick version. But you have the power to shift your identification at any moment. You can stop identifying with the version of you that matches your current circumstances and start identifying with the version of you that you wish to experience. When you identify with a new version of yourself in the 5D world, you literally become that version. Your consciousness shifts to that frequency. And when your consciousness shifts, your 3D experience must shift to match it. This is not about becoming someone you are not. This is about recognizing that all versions of you already exist and choosing which one you will be. Let me share with you the ultimate truth about this dimension of infinite possibilities. The truth that makes all of this not just possible but inevitable. This dimension is not somewhere else. It is not a place you travel to. This realm of infinite possibilities is what you are. You are not in this dimension. You are this dimension expressing as individual consciousness. All the infinite possibilities that exist here exist within you. You are the library containing every book. You are the radio containing every station. You are the consciousness in which all realities exist. When you claim a reality from this infinite dimension, you are not reaching outside yourself to grab something. You are recognizing what already exists within you and choosing to experience it. This is why assumption works. This is why consciousness creates reality. This is why you are the operant power. Because you are not a small being trying to manipulate a vast external universe. You are the infinite consciousness in which the entire universe exists, choosing which aspect of your infinite self you will experience. The 3D world is your self-expression. The 4D world is your creative workshop. This infinite dimension is your infinite being, and you have access to all three dimensions at all times. So what does it mean to live as an infinite being? It means you stop being a victim of 3D circumstances. It means you stop struggling to manifest in the 4D imagination. It means you recognize that everything already exists in this dimension of infinite possibilities, and your only job is to claim which reality you will experience. Living from infinite consciousness means you wake up each day knowing that today's reality is not imposed upon you. You are selecting it from infinite possibilities. Living from this awareness means you meet challenges not with fear, but with the knowledge that in this dimension the solution already exists. Living as infinite consciousness means you never ask, can this happen? But only, which version of this do I choose to experience? This is your invitation. This is your birthright. This is the truth of what you are. You are not a 3D body struggling through time. You are not even a 4D imagination creating your world. You are infinite being, temporarily focused through the lens of individuality, selecting which of your infinite possibilities you will experience. Enter this dimension. Claim your reality. live from infinite possibilities, and watch as your 3D world becomes a perfect reflection of the magnificent reality you have claimed from the dimension where everything already exists in perfect completion. Thank you, and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video.
What if I told you that every single thought you've had today, every worry, every doubt, every fleeting desire was actually a prayer being answered right now? And what if I told you that the conversation you think you're not having with God is actually the most important conversation of your life? Stay with me, because what I'm about to share will shatter everything you think you know about prayer, manifestation, and your direct connection to the divine. By the end of this, you'll understand why some people seem to live charmed lives while others struggle endlessly. And more importantly, you'll know exactly how to shift from one group to the other. I want to share something that mystics have known for centuries, something that the most successful people in history have understood intuitively, but that most people never discover. You are already speaking to God. You have been since the moment you learned to think, to desire, to dream, to fear. The great tragedy isn't that people don't pray, it's that they don't realize they're always praying. Every moment of every day, you're in constant communication with the infinite. God doesn't wait for you on bended knee in a cathedral. He doesn't need stained glass windows or ancient rituals. He hears you in your silence, in your movement, in the thoughts you repeat obsessively, in the feelings you cultivate habitually, in the mental images you dwell upon during the quiet hours of the night. You are always sending out a message, whether by faith or by fear, whether by hope or by complaint. And here's what will shock you. That message is always answered. Always, but not always in words. If you're unhappy, unclear, or lost, it's not because you haven't prayed enough. It's not because God isn't listening. It's because you haven't understood how you're praying. And what you're about to discover about the language of the subconscious mind will change everything you thought you knew about getting what you want in life. You see, God doesn't communicate through sentences. He doesn't argue, beg, or command. He responds to mental states, to definiteness, to desire, to unwavering conviction. He speaks through ideas, through flashes of insight, through circumstances that shift, through people who cross your path when you least expect it. Let me be bold here. If you are unhappy, unclear, or lost, it is not because you have not prayed. It is because you have not understood how you are praying. You have not realized that every repetition of fear, every echo of self-doubt, every mental rehearsal of defeat is a silent request, a communication with the infinite saying, this is what I expect, this is what I believe, this is what I have chosen to dwell upon. And God, being faithful, doesn't question your command. He doesn't deliver what you say you want in your conscious moments of hope. He delivers what you expect with feeling, what you've impressed upon your deeper mind, through constant repetition. An expectation isn't built through moments of faith. It's built through your habitual mental atmosphere, through the vibration of your dominant thoughts. Think of your mind as a broadcast station. Your thoughts are frequencies. Every emotion, every word you internalize, every scene you replay in your imagination sends out a signal. That signal becomes a request, and that request draws to you its equivalent in the physical world. Here's the problem most people face. You may believe you're asking for strength, but what you focus on is weakness. You may desire love, but your mind plays only scenes of rejection. You may want wealth, yet you speak endlessly about lack. You think you're praying for success, but your daily imagination is filled with visions of failure. This is the unspoken dialogue between you and God. Not words, but energy. Not noise, but belief. Let me tell you exactly who you're speaking to, because this understanding will change everything. Throughout history, humanity has given God many names. Some call him the Creator. others the source, the almighty, the divine, the great spirit. But I choose a term that reflects not only power, but order, reason, and precise response. Infinite intelligence. I didn't come to know God through ritual or religion, though I respect both. I came to know him through observation, through experience, through careful study of the most successful individuals of our time. I studied men like Carnegie, Edison, Ford, Rockefeller, men who built empires, shaped nations, bent entire industries to their will. And I asked myself, what is the unseen force that connects these men? They differed in temperament, in belief, in background, in education. But there was one thing they all understood, whether consciously or not. Ideas come from somewhere beyond the individual mind. Vision is received, not invented. When a person tunes their mind properly, they become a channel through which something greater flows. That something greater is infinite intelligence. It is not a man in the sky. It is not a judge sitting on a throne, waiting to punish or reward. It is the source of all thought, the creative force behind all invention, all genius, all beauty. It is the field in which all possibilities exist, the original thinker, the origin of all power, the silent partner that never speaks aloud, but never misses a signal. Infinite intelligence is the unseen mind of the universe, responsive, creative, generous, but it does not move at random. It responds to definiteness. It responds to clarity. It responds to faith backed by emotion and sustained by repetition. And here's where most people fail catastrophically. They pray in desperation. They ask from a place of weakness. They beg, plead, and hope. But they don't understand the nature of what they're addressing. Infinite intelligence is not moved by noise. It is moved by alignment. It does not respond to chaos, but to order. Not to doubt, but to certainty. Not to fear, but to belief so strong, it becomes an unshakable knowing. Your subconscious mind is the secret transmitter that's been broadcasting your deepest beliefs. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And what it's been saying on your behalf might absolutely horrify you. But once you understand this mechanism, you hold the master key to reshaping your entire reality. If infinite intelligence is the source of all power, then your subconscious mind is the instrument through which that power flows into your individual experience. This is crucial to understand. You do not speak to God with your lips. You do not communicate through your conscious, reasoning mind. You speak through your emotionalized thoughts, your persistent beliefs, and the silent language of the subconscious mind. That is the channel. That is the transmitter. And that is where the real work begins. Your subconscious mind does not think. It responds. It does not judge. It does not debate. It does not question the logic or morality of what you feed it. It accepts whatever you give it, wraps it in the emotion you've attached to it, and passes it directly into the realm of infinite intelligence as your command. Every thought you repeat, especially when charged with strong emotion, whether faith or fear, is imprinted upon your subconscious. And the subconscious, obedient and faithful as a devoted servant, accepts that imprint as absolute fact. It then begins to operate your body, your habits, your perception, and yes, even your environment, in alignment with what you have declared to be true. This is how people create heaven or hell for themselves. Not by what happens to them, but by what they believe deeply, emotionally, subconsciously, is their rightful place in the world. Let me give you a perfect example. A man says, "I am tired of being poor. I want to be rich." He declares it once with conscious conviction. But then, within the very next hour, he complains about the economy. He dwells on what he lacks. He tells his friends that wealthy people are greedy. He speaks with envy about others' success. He walks with the posture of doubt. So tell me, what message has he really sent? What has his subconscious mind recorded and transmitted to infinite intelligence? Not the loud wish he spoke once in a moment of inspiration, but the quiet, repeated signals of lack, resentment, and self-sabotage that he's been broadcasting consistently for years. You must understand that the subconscious mind cannot lie, but it can be lied into submission. It is not concerned with the truth of your hopes. It is concerned only with the volume and consistency of your belief. And belief is not built with logic. It is built with repetition, emotion, and unwavering consistency. This is why I urge you to guard your thoughts not once, but constantly. To speak to yourself not as you currently are, but as you intend to become. To visualize daily not your past limitations, but your preferred future. To feed the subconscious mind not the crumbs of doubt, but the feast of definite purpose. When you do this, when your inner dialogue becomes strong, pure, and unwavering, the subconscious mind begins to shift. It becomes an instrument of power, rather than a vessel of limitation. Most people think faith is something you turn to in trouble, a last resort, a vague hope that somehow something somewhere will intervene on their behalf when all else fails. But I tell you now, faith is not hope. Faith is a spiritual law. Faith is the only medium through which you may consciously connect your thoughts with infinite intelligence. It is the wireless signal, the spiritual transmitter. And without it, no prayer, no desire, no vision, no matter how sincere, how desperate, how well-intentioned, will reach the realm from which true power flows. Faith is not built on words or wishes. It is built on feeling, deep inner conviction that what you desire is already yours in the realm of consciousness, even if not yet visible in your physical experience. Faith is belief made so vivid, so emotional, so habitual, that the subconscious mind accepts it without hesitation. And once it is accepted there, it becomes spiritual law in your individual experience. Infinite intelligence does not respond to what you merely say. It responds to what you believe. And belief is not measured by your public affirmations, nor by how loudly you declare your dreams at motivational seminars. Belief is measured by your daily emotional vibration. It's revealed in how you respond to obstacles, in how you persist when the going gets tough, in how you act even when the evidence is not yet visible. A person who has true faith walks differently. They carry themselves with an inner sense of direction, even when the path is not fully illuminated. They speak less about what is missing and more about what is moving. They wake with energy because they know they're aligned with something greater than themselves. They endure difficulties without collapsing because they understand that obstacles are often redirections, not rejections. Picture a seed. That tiny seed contains everything it needs to become a magnificent tree. But it will only realize its potential if it is placed in the right soil, given adequate water, provided with sunlight, and nurtured with consistency and care. Faith is the soil in which thought grows. It is the spiritual environment that allows invisible desire to take tangible form in the physical world. Without faith, your most brilliant thoughts die in the dirt of doubt. I have personally observed hundreds of people with brilliant plans and powerful ideas fail. Not for lack of intelligence, not for lack of opportunity, but for lack of belief. They spoke the right words. They set impressive goals. They had detailed strategies, but in their hearts, in their subconscious minds, they did not believe it was truly possible for them. Contrast this with a person of perhaps moderate talent, but unshakable faith. They do not speak in terms of if, but when. They do not ask for signs. They move as if the signs have already been given. They do not wait for permission from the world. They act as if they've already received divine authorization. And because they believe before the evidence arrives, the evidence begins to appear. Doors open. Circumstances shift in their favor. The right people show up at the right time. Ideas flood their consciousness. Resources become available. And the world, as if obeying some unseen instruction, begins to bend in their favor. There's one method that every successful person uses, often without even realizing it, to program their subconscious mind for success. When you master this technique, reality literally begins to reshape itself around your desires. But here's the shocking part. You're already using this method every single day, either for you or against you. The method is called auto-suggestion, and it is the most powerful tool for deliberate subconscious programming that has ever been discovered. Autosuggestion is not positive thinking. It is not daydreaming. It is not wishful talk whispered into the wind while you're feeling good. It is a precise discipline, a sacred ritual, a deliberate conversation between your conscious and subconscious mind. Most people use it against themselves. When you say, "I can't do this. I always mess this up. I never have enough. People like me don't succeed." What do you think you're doing? You're praying, not with hope, not with light, but with darkness. You're repeating, with emotional conviction, the very beliefs that limit your future. The person of definite purpose does not leave this power to chance. They do not wake up and hope for good thoughts. They command their thoughts. They write their desires with absolute clarity. They repeat them with genuine feeling. They see them in their mind's eye every single day, multiple times a day. If you desire wealth, do not merely wish for it in vague terms. Write a clear, specific statement of exactly what you desire, exactly when you intend to have it, and exactly what you are willing to give in return. This is not a casual exercise. This is a sacred contract with infinite intelligence. Then repeat this statement every morning upon awakening and every night before sleep. But not as a mechanical chant, not as a hollow phrase you've memorized. Repeat it as if your life depends on it, as if God himself were listening to the tone of your conviction, because he is. Emotion is the secret key. Without emotion, your words are spiritually dead. They do not penetrate the subconscious. They bounce off like rain on stone. But when you feel the truth of your words, when you picture the outcome vividly, when your body and mind align in perfect harmony, the message is delivered with power. I have witnessed this principle in action too many times to doubt its validity. The person who sets a definite goal, speaks it daily with conviction, visualizes it with clarity, and persists with unwavering faith, receives hunches, opportunities, and guidance that the average person dismisses as coincidence. Most people think emotion is something to control, to hide, to manage. But what if I told you that emotion is actually your direct hotline to God? That without the right emotions, your prayers are basically spiritual static. Emotion is not a weakness. It is not a disturbance to be controlled. It is your spiritual signal amplifier. Emotion is the fire that powers your thought. It is the electricity that carries your mental messages from the conscious mind, through the subconscious, and into the direct attention of infinite intelligence. Without emotion, your thoughts are dull, lifeless, powerless. Without emotion, your prayers are faint whispers that never reach their destination. But when your thoughts are charged with emotion, true, deep, authentic emotion, they burn. They sear themselves into the subconscious mind. Faith, love, conviction, enthusiasm, gratitude, burning desire. These are high-frequency emotions. They elevate the vibration of your thought. They make your signal powerful, clean, and irresistible. They pierce through resistance, cut through confusion, and reach their target with precision. But if your thoughts are wrapped in fear, in worry, in resentment, in anger, in self-pity, then that signal becomes distorted. It may still be strong, but it is misaligned. And infinite intelligence, being perfectly responsive to whatever you transmit, returns not what you consciously desire, but what you unconsciously believe, and what you feel most consistently. You cannot lie to your own emotional vibration. You can say all the right words. You can write beautiful goals. You can attend every seminar and read every book. But if your body is tense, your breath is shallow, your sleep is restless, and your inner world is filled with fear and doubt, you are still transmitting a signal. A person who understands this principle takes complete responsibility for their emotional frequency. They monitor the tone of their mind as carefully as a master musician tunes their instrument. They step away from environments that drain their energy. They reject conversations that poison their mental atmosphere. This is not about comfort. This is about spiritual discipline. You are always sending a signal. The universe is never deaf to your transmission. The only question is whether your signal is worthy of the reply you desire. There's one mental state that guarantees failure, and I'd estimate that 90% of people are trapped in it right now without even knowing it. Drifting is the most dangerous mental state a human being can enter. It is the condition of a mind no longer under conscious control, a mind that reacts instead of creating, that responds instead of initiating, that moves, yes, but with no destination, no design, no definite purpose. Drifting is the mind that checks the clock, but never examines the vision. It is the mind that consumes endless information, but never creates anything of value. It is the mind that feels vague urges to grow, but always finds excuses to wait for a better time. The drifter floats between desire and doubt, between belief and boredom, between momentary inspiration and chronic procrastination. The drifter prays without focus, scattering their attention across a dozen different wants. They think without intensity, allowing their mind to wander wherever external circumstances lead it. And worst of all, they repeat the same confused, anxious, contradictory thoughts day after day, week after week, year after year, completely unaware that every single one of these thoughts is a silent instruction being delivered directly to their subconscious mind. The drifter says they want peace, yet they constantly invite mental and emotional noise into their consciousness. They say they want success, but they speak daily of struggle, limitation, and how hard everything is. They say they want clear answers from God, yet they fill their inner world with random, aimless, useless mental chatter. Thought is spiritual currency, and if you spend it carelessly, unconsciously on mental junk, you will always be spiritually bankrupt when you need power most. A drifter prays in confusion and receives confusion. A focused person prays with definiteness and receives guidance that can move mountains. The difference is not in God's willingness to help. The difference is in the clarity of the signal being transmitted. The world has taught you to be ashamed of your deepest desires, to question them, to suppress them as selfish or unrealistic. But what if I told you that your burning desires are actually God's way of communicating His plans for your life? What if your biggest dreams are not obstacles to overcome, but assignments to fulfill? True desire is not greed, not excess, not vanity. Desire is divine alignment, a signal from the deepest part of your spiritual nature that whispers, "You were made for more than this." When infinite intelligence seeks to accomplish something in the physical world, it does not send a lightning bolt from heaven. It sends a burning desire into the heart of a human being, a quiet but persistent fire that says, "This is yours to do. This is your assignment. This is why you are here." Most people ignore that fire. Most doubt it. Most bury it beneath layers of practicality, social conditioning, and the limiting opinions of smaller minds. They ask themselves, "Who am I to want this? Maybe I'm being unrealistic," but it is no act of humility to deny the divine impulse that burns within you. That desire was planted in your consciousness for a specific reason, not to torment you, but to guide you, not to frustrate you, but to direct you toward your highest purpose. True desire, the kind that comes from your spiritual core, is the beginning of divine instruction. It is the blueprint that infinite intelligence has given you for what you are meant to build, create, become, and contribute to the world. You do not choose your deepest desires. They choose you. They arise from a place deeper than personal preference, deeper than social conditioning, deeper than fear or limitation. They come from the part of you that is directly connected to the source of all creation. When you say yes to that desire, once you accept it not as a burden, but as a blessing, not as wishful thinking, but as a spiritual assignment, everything begins to change. The mind sharpens, the thoughts become clear and focused, the subconscious awakens to its higher function. God has already answered your prayer. The response was sent the moment you asked with genuine faith. But 99% of people miss it completely because they're looking for the wrong thing in the wrong place. You have spoken the desire. You have impressed it upon your subconscious mind. You have wrapped it in faith and repeated it with emotional conviction. And now you ask, when will God respond? My answer is simple and profound. God has already responded. Infinite intelligence does not wait to reply. It doesn't operate on your schedule, your timeline, or your personal expectations. but it always responds. Always. The response of infinite intelligence is never what most people expect. It is not a voice from heaven. It is not a burning bush or a divine proclamation. It is a change in the spiritual atmosphere around you. It is a strange hunch that awakens you in the middle of the night. It is an idea that rises suddenly while you're walking, shaving, or sitting in quiet contemplation. It is a chance meeting with someone who says exactly what you needed to hear at exactly the moment you needed to hear it. It is a door closing so that the right door can open. It is a delay that saves you from a disaster you could not have foreseen. It is a challenge that pushes you back onto the path you had almost forgotten. Infinite intelligence does not use the language of words. It uses the language of circumstance. It speaks through intuition, through the shifting patterns of your daily experience, through the very fabric of life itself. But most people miss it completely. Not because God is silent, but because they are too mentally noisy to hear the reply. Their minds are filled with chatter. Their thoughts are scattered. Their doubts are loud. Their expectations are so rigid and specific that they walk right past the answer because it didn't arrive in the form they imagined. They pray for help and then reject it when it comes disguised as a challenge. They ask for opportunity and then turn away when it appears in work clothes rather than evening wear. They request guidance and then ignore the intuitive pull that points in a direction their rational mind cannot yet understand. Infinite intelligence is not your servant. It is not bound by your methods or limited by your imagination. It is bound only by your faith, your openness, and your willingness to move when the answer appears, even if it's wrapped in unexpected packaging. Here is your assignment for the next 30 days. And I urge you to treat this not as a suggestion, but as a sacred contract with your highest self. First, become the guardian of your thoughts. Monitor your inner dialogue as carefully as a master musician tunes their instrument. Every morning, before you check your phone, before you consume any outside information, spend 10 minutes in deliberate thought. Choose what you will think about. Direct your mental energy like a laser beam toward your definite purpose. Second, write down your deepest desire with absolute clarity. Not a vague wish, not a general hope, but a specific, definite statement of exactly what you want, exactly when you want it, and exactly what you are willing to give in return. Make this your prayer, your contract, your spiritual blueprint. Third, repeat this statement every morning upon awakening and every night before sleep. But repeat it with genuine emotion, with unwavering conviction, with the certainty that you are speaking directly to the creative force of the universe. Feel the truth of your words. See the outcome in vivid detail. Make it real in your imagination before it becomes real in your experience. Fourth, pay attention to the subtle shifts in your daily experience. Notice the hunches, the unexpected meetings, the doors that open and close. Recognize that every circumstance is part of an intelligent design responding to your dominant thoughts and feelings. Fifth, stop drifting, stop reacting, and start creating. Start recognizing that you are in constant communication with the force that created the universe. And that force is listening to every signal you send. Right now, in this very moment, you stand at a crossroads. You can close this video and return to the drift of unconscious living, allowing your thoughts to scatter like leaves in the wind, continuing to pray unconsciously through fear, doubt, and limitation. Or you can accept the truth that has been placed before you. You are already speaking to God. You have been since the moment you learned to think. The channel is open. The connection is live. The only question is what message you will choose to send. The conversation you've been having with the divine through your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, your expectations. That conversation is shaping your reality right now. Every moment of every day, you are co-creating your experience with infinite intelligence. You came into this world equipped with direct access to the source of all power, all wisdom, all possibility. You have within you right now everything necessary to transform your circumstances, fulfill your purpose, and live the life you were designed for. The time for hoping is over. The time for believing has begun. The time for speaking to God without words starts now. Your thoughts are prayers. Your emotions are the power behind those prayers. Your persistence is proof of your faith. And your faith, when properly applied, is the key that unlocks every door between where you are and where you're meant to be. Stop whispering your fears and start declaring your faith. Stop rehearsing your limitations and start visualizing your possibilities. Stop drifting through life and start directing it with conscious intention. The universe is waiting for your instruction. Infinite intelligence is ready to respond to your signal. The creative force that formed the stars and carved the mountains is standing by to assist you in the fulfillment of your definite purpose. Speak to God without words. Send your message with clarity, conviction, and unwavering faith. And then watch as the entire universe conspires to answer your call. The conversation starts now. What will you say? My friends, tonight, I want to speak to you about something that has gripped the imagination of millions. Something that sends shivers down spines and fills hearts with an inexplicable dread. I want to speak to you about Friday the 13th. But before you dismiss this as mere superstition, before you wave your hand and say, Neville, surely you don't believe in such nonsense, I ask you to listen. Listen with that inner ear that hears not just words, but truth. For in understanding Friday the 13th, we unlock one of the most profound secrets of human consciousness, the secret of how beliefs become reality. You see, my friends, there is no such thing as a coincidence in this universe. Every date, every number, every symbol that captures the collective imagination of humanity does so because it contains within it a spiritual truth, a truth that speaks to the very core of our being. Tonight I will show you that Friday the 13th is not a day to be feared, but a day to be understood. It is a day that reveals the magnificent power of your own wonderful human imagination. But first, let me tell you a story, a true story that happened to me just last Friday the 13th. I was walking down Fifth Avenue in New York City. The streets were less crowded than usual, and I noticed something peculiar. People were walking differently. They were looking over their shoulders. They were avoiding ladders, stepping around black cats, and I could feel it, that thick, heavy atmosphere of collective fear. And then it struck me like lightning. I was witnessing the most powerful demonstration of human imagination at work. Here were thousands of people, all unknowingly participating in a massive exercise of creative visualization. They were imagining misfortune, visualizing bad luck, and feeling it so intensely that they were literally creating the very conditions they feared. My friends, this is the law. This is exactly how your imagination works every single day. What you persistently imagine, what you feel to be true, what you accept as real, this becomes your experience. Friday, the 13th, is simply humanity's greatest collective lesson in the power of assumption. But where did this all begin? Let me take you back to the true origins of this mystical date. The number 13 has been considered sacred since the dawn of civilization. There were 13 lunar cycles in a year. There were 13 members at the Last Supper. There are 13 stairs leading to the gallows. But here's what they don't tell you in the history books. 13 is the number of transformation, the number of death and rebirth, the number of the initiate who has passed through the 12 stages of spiritual development and emerged as the 13th, the master. And Friday was the day of Venus, the day of love and creativity, the day when the feminine principle was honored. It was considered the most powerful day for manifestation, because it was the day when the creative force of the universe was at its peak. So when we combine Friday with the 13th, we don't get a day of misfortune, we get the most powerful day for conscious creation. We get the day when the creative force of the universe aligns with the number of mastery and transformation. But here's the tragedy, my friends. Somewhere along the way, humanity forgot this truth. The knowledge became distorted. The sacred became feared. And instead of using this powerful day for conscious creation, we began to use it for unconscious creation, creating exactly what we feared. Now let me share with you the real secret of Friday the 13th. A secret that will transform your entire relationship with this date. And, more importantly, with your own creative power. Every Friday the 13th, you are being given a gift. You are being given a day when the collective unconscious of humanity is so focused, so concentrated, that the very atmosphere becomes charged with creative energy. It's like having access to a cosmic amplifier for your imagination. But you must know how to use it. You must understand that on this day, more than any other, your assumptions will crystallize into reality with lightning speed. This is why those who assume bad luck experience it so dramatically. This is why those who fear misfortune attract it so powerfully. The day is not cursed. The day is blessed with an abundance of creative power. Let me tell you about a man I knew who discovered this truth. His name was Robert, and he was a businessman who had always dreaded Friday the 13th. Every time this date appeared on the calendar, something would go wrong. His deals would fall through, his equipment would break down, his employees would call in sick. One day Robert came to me and said, "Neville, I don't know what to do. Friday the 13th is like a curse on my life." I said to him, "Robert, you have discovered the most powerful day for manifestation, and you're using it to create exactly what you don't want. What if, instead of fearing this day, you used it to consciously create what you do want?" Robert looked at me as if I had suggested he jump off the Brooklyn Bridge. But I continued, "The next Friday the 13th, I want you to do something different. I want you to spend the entire day in the feeling of your wish fulfilled. I want you to imagine your business thriving, your deals closing, your success flowing like a river. Feel it, live it, breathe it." "But Neville," he protested, "what if something goes wrong?" I smiled and said, "Robert, something has been going wrong every Friday the 13th for years. You've been unconsciously creating disasters. What if you consciously created miracles instead?" 3 months later, Robert called me. His voice was shaking with excitement. "Neville," he said, "you won't believe what happened. That Friday the 13th, I did exactly what you suggested. I spent the entire day feeling successful, feeling blessed, feeling grateful for all the good in my life. And by the end of the day, I had closed the biggest deal of my career. The client called me at 11:47 p.m., 13 minutes before midnight, and said yes to everything." My friends, this is not a coincidence. This is the law in operation. Robert had discovered that Friday the 13th was not his enemy. It was his greatest ally. It was the day when his imagination was supercharged, when his creative power was amplified beyond measure. But here's what I want you to understand. Every day is Friday the 13th for the person who knows how to use their imagination consciously. Every moment is charged with creative potential. Every assumption you make is an act of creation. The reason Friday the 13th has such power is because it reveals the truth that most people ignore. Your imagination is always working. Your assumptions are always creating. Your beliefs are always manifesting. Friday the 13th simply makes this process visible, because the collective focus amplifies the results. Now let me share with you the practical application of this knowledge. Let me show you how to use Friday the 13th and every day to consciously create the life you desire. First, you must understand that fear is just imagination focused on what you don't want. When you fear Friday the 13th, you are actually doing a very sophisticated form of creative visualization. You are imagining scenarios of misfortune, feeling the emotions of these scenarios, and thereby impressing your subconscious mind with the image of what you don't want. But imagination is neutral. It will create whatever you consistently imagine and feel to be true. So instead of imagining what you don't want, imagine what you do want. Instead of feeling afraid, feel grateful. Instead of expecting misfortune, expect miracles. Here's a specific technique I want you to use. The next time Friday the 13th appears on your calendar, I want you to treat it as your personal day of manifestation. I want you to wake up that morning and say to yourself, "Today is my day of miracles. Today my imagination is supercharged. Today I consciously create my reality." Then throughout the day, I want you to imagine yourself living in the reality you desire. If you want love, feel loved. If you want success, feel successful. If you want health, feel healthy. If you want abundance, feel abundant. Don't just think these thoughts. Feel these feelings. Live in these assumptions. Breathe in these realities. And here's the key. Don't watch for results. Don't look for signs. Don't anxiously check to see if it's working. Simply assume it is working. Assume your desires are already fulfilled. Assume you are already living in the reality you've imagined. Because, my friends, assumption is the most powerful force in the universe. When you assume something to be true, when you feel it to be real, when you live from that assumption, the entire universe conspires to make it so. This is why Friday the 13th is so powerful. It's a day when the collective unconscious is so focused that assumptions crystallize into reality almost immediately. It's like having a direct line to the creative power of the universe. But let me share with you an even deeper secret. The real reason Friday the 13th has such power is because it represents the ultimate spiritual truth: death and rebirth, transformation and renewal, the ending of one cycle and the beginning of another. Every Friday the 13th, you are being invited to die to your old self and be reborn as your new self. You are being invited to let go of your old assumptions and embrace new ones. You are being invited to step into a new version of reality. This is why the number 13 has always been associated with death in the tarot. Not physical death, but the death of the old self. And this is why Friday, the day of Venus, is the perfect day for this transformation. Because Venus represents the creative feminine principle that gives birth to new realities. So Friday the 13th is not a day of misfortune, it's a day of rebirth. It's a day when you can consciously choose to die to your old limitations and be reborn into your new possibilities. Think about it, my friends. What if every Friday, the 13th, instead of cowering in fear, you stood up and declared, "Today, I die to my old self and am reborn as the person I truly want to be"? What if you used this day to consciously assume a new identity, to step into a new version of yourself, to embrace a new reality? The transformation would be immediate. The results would be miraculous, because you would be working with the natural rhythm of the universe instead of against it. I remember a woman who came to me many years ago. She was terrified of Friday the 13th, because every time this date occurred, she would have a panic attack. She had convinced herself that she was cursed, that some terrible fate awaited her on these days. I explained to her that she was not cursed. She was blessed with an incredible sensitivity to the creative power of the universe. Her panic attacks were actually her unconscious mind's way of preparing for transformation. She was being called to die to her old self and be reborn as her new self. I taught her to reframe her experience. Instead of seeing her heightened sensitivity as a curse, I helped her see it as a gift. Instead of fearing transformation, I helped her embrace it. Instead of resisting the death of her old self, I helped her welcome the birth of her new self. The next Friday the 13th, instead of having a panic attack, she had a breakthrough. She realized that her fear of this date was actually her fear of her own power. She was afraid of how quickly her imagination could create reality. She was afraid of how powerfully her assumptions could manifest. Once she understood this, she began to use Friday the 13th as her personal day of conscious creation. She would spend these days imagining herself as the confident, successful, joyful person she wanted to be. And slowly but surely, she became that person. My friends, this is the real magic of Friday the 13th. It's not about luck or superstition. It's about understanding the incredible power of your own imagination and using it consciously to create the life you desire. Every Friday the 13th, you are being given a gift, a day when the veil between imagination and reality is at its thinnest, when your assumptions can manifest with lightning speed, when your creative power is amplified beyond measure. But wait, my friends, there is more. There are deeper mysteries hidden within this date that will astound you. Let me share with you some remarkable discoveries that will forever change how you see Friday the 13th. Did you know that Jesus Christ was crucified on a Friday and that he was the 13th person at the Last Supper? This was not coincidence. This was cosmic design. The crucifixion represents the ultimate act of conscious transformation. Jesus consciously chose to die to his human limitations and be reborn as divine consciousness. Friday the 13th is the anniversary of the greatest demonstration of conscious creation in human history. And here's something that will absolutely fascinate you. In the ancient mystery schools, the number 13 was the number of the master. There were 12 disciples and one master. There are 12 signs of the zodiac, and the 13th is the one who transcends them all. There are 12 hours on the clock, and the 13th hour is when time itself is transcended. The Templars knew this secret. They met in groups of 13 because they understood that 13 was the number of divine power. When they were arrested on Friday, October 13th, 1307, it wasn't because the date was unlucky. It was because the church feared their knowledge of how to consciously create reality. But here's what will truly amaze you. Modern science has discovered that the human body replaces every cell every 13 weeks. Every 13 weeks, you literally have a new body. Every 13 weeks, you are physically reborn. Your body knows the secret of Friday the 13th. It knows that 13 is the number of renewal and transformation. And in the field of quantum physics, scientists have discovered that there are 13 dimensions of reality. We live in the first 3 dimensions, but there are 10 more dimensions where infinite possibilities exist. Friday the 13th is the day when the veil between these dimensions is thinnest, when you can most easily access these higher realms of possibility. Let me tell you about a woman named Sarah who discovered this truth in the most remarkable way. Sarah was an artist who had been struggling for years to make a living from her work. Every Friday the 13th, she would receive rejection letters, her paintings would be damaged, or her exhibitions would be cancelled. But Sarah was different from most people. Instead of accepting defeat, she became curious. She began to notice that the intensity of her experiences on Friday the 13th was far greater than on any other day. Her rejections weren't just rejections. They were dramatic, story-worthy rejections. Her setbacks weren't just setbacks. They were spectacular, almost cinematic setbacks. Then it hit her like a lightning bolt. If her negative experiences were amplified on Friday the 13th, what would happen if she amplified her positive experiences instead? The next Friday the 13th, Sarah did something extraordinary. She spent the entire day painting a masterpiece. Not just any painting, but a painting of her ideal life. She painted herself in a beautiful studio, surrounded by collectors admiring her work. She painted herself receiving a check for $1 million. She painted herself being interviewed by art magazines. But here's the key. As she painted, she didn't just hope these things would happen. She felt them happening. She felt the excitement of the collectors, the weight of the check in her hand, the pride of being recognized for her talent. That very evening, as she was putting the finishing touches on her painting, there was a knock at her door. It was a wealthy collector who had gotten lost looking for another artist's studio. He saw Sarah's painting through the window and was mesmerized. Not only did he buy that painting, but he commissioned her to create a series of 13 paintings for his private collection. The commission was worth exactly $1 million. My friends, this is not a fairy tale. This is the law of assumption in its most dramatic form. Sarah had unconsciously discovered that Friday the 13th was her personal amplifier. Whatever she assumed on this day would manifest with extraordinary speed and intensity. Now let me address something that many of you might be thinking. But Neville, what if I've had bad experiences on Friday the 13th? What if I've been unconsciously creating negative experiences for years? My friends, this is actually wonderful news. If you've been able to create dramatic negative experiences on Friday the 13th, it proves that you have incredible creative power. It proves that your imagination is extraordinarily potent. It proves that you are naturally sensitive to the amplified energy of this day. All you need to do is redirect that power. All you need to do is change the direction of your assumption. All you need to do is use the same creative force that has been working against you to work for you. Remember, there is no such thing as a bad manifester. There are only people who are unconsciously manifesting what they don't want, instead of consciously manifesting what they do want. if you can manifest dramatically on Friday the 13th. Even if what you've manifested is unwanted, you have a gift that most people would envy. Let me tell you about a man named Thomas, who came to me after experiencing 20 years of disasters on Friday the 13th. Car accidents, job losses, relationship breakups, financial catastrophes. They all seem to happen on this date. I said to him, Thomas, you are one of the most powerful manifestors I have ever met. You have been unconsciously using Friday the 13th as your personal creation day for 2 decades. The consistency of your results proves that you have an extraordinary connection to the creative force of the universe. Thomas looked at me as if I had lost my mind. How can you call disasters a gift? He asked. I explained to him that the same creative force that had been producing his disasters could produce his miracles. The same imagination that had been creating his problems could create his solutions. The same assumptive power that had been working against him could work for him. The very next Friday the 13th, Thomas consciously assumed that it would be the most wonderful day of his life. He assumed that everything would go perfectly, that opportunities would present themselves, that blessings would flow to him from every direction. By the end of that day, Thomas had received a job offer that doubled his salary, met the woman who would become his wife, and found out that he had inherited a house from a distant relative he didn't even know existed. The same creative power that had been producing disasters for 20 years produced miracles in a single day. This brings me to a profound truth about Friday the 13th that I want you to understand. This date is not inherently good or bad, lucky or unlucky, blessed or cursed. It is simply a day of amplified creative power. It is a day when the consequences of your assumptions are accelerated and intensified. If you assume good, you get extraordinary good. If you assume bad, you get extraordinary bad. If you assume nothing special, you get extraordinary ordinary. The day responds to your assumption with supernatural precision. This is why I say that Friday the 13th is humanity's greatest teacher. It is showing us, in the most dramatic way possible, that we are always creating our reality through our assumptions. It is proving to us that there is no such thing as fate, no such thing as luck, no such thing as circumstance beyond our control. We are always a choice. We are always creating. We are always assuming our reality into existence. Friday the 13th simply makes this truth impossible to ignore. And now, my friends, let me share with you the ultimate secret of Friday the 13th. A secret so profound that it will change your entire understanding of reality itself. The real reason Friday the 13th has such power is because it represents the 13th hour, the hour that doesn't exist on the clock, the hour that exists only in consciousness, the hour when linear time dissolves and eternal time begins. In the 13th hour, past, present, and future become one. In the 13th hour, all possibilities exist simultaneously. In the 13th hour, you are not bound by the limitations of sequential time. You can reach into the future and pull your desires into the present moment. Every Friday the 13th, you are being invited to enter the 13th hour of consciousness. You are being invited to step outside of linear time and into eternal time. You are being invited to live not from the perspective of someone who is trying to create something, but from the perspective of someone who has already created it. This is the secret of instant manifestation. This is how miracles happen. This is how the impossible becomes possible. In the 13th hour, there is no waiting for your good. In the 13th hour, there is no process of manifestation. There is only the eternal now, where all your desires already exist in perfect form. When you truly understand this, when you can truly enter the 13th hour of consciousness, Friday the 13th becomes the most magical day of your life. It becomes the day when you remember who you really are. Not a limited human being, trying to create a better life, but an unlimited spiritual being experiencing the joy of conscious creation. So I leave you with this challenge, my friends, this coming Friday the 13th. Dare to enter the 13th hour. Dare to step outside of time and into eternity. Dare to live from the assumption you are already everything you desire to be. Use it wisely. Use it consciously. Use it to create the life you were born to live. Because that, my friends, is the real meaning of Friday the 13th. Not a day of fear, but a day of power. Not a day of misfortune, but a day of miracles. Not a day to be endured, but a day to be embraced as the doorway to your highest possibilities. Go now and create consciously. Assume you're good and live from your wish fulfilled. For you are the operant power of God. And Friday the 13th is simply another opportunity to prove it. Perhaps the most powerful opportunity of all. Remember, you are not here to be ordinary. You are here to be extraordinary. And Friday the 13th is your invitation to step into that extraordinary life.
My friends, I want to tell you something tonight that may disturb you at first, but will set you free if you truly understand it. Ignore the facts. Yes, you heard me correctly. Ignore the facts. Dismiss them. Pay them no attention whatsoever. Now, before you think I've lost my mind, let me explain what I mean by this seemingly absurd statement. The facts are screaming at you right now, aren't they? Your bank account shows a certain number or lack of numbers. Your body appears in a particular condition. Your relationships exist in a specific state. The world presents itself to you with what seems like undeniable evidence. And every authority figure you've ever known, your parents, your teachers, society itself has trained you to respect facts, to bow down to facts, to accept facts as the ultimate reality. But I'm here to tell you tonight, facts are the greatest liars you will ever meet. You see, facts are nothing more than the hardened assumptions of your past. They are yesterday's thoughts made visible. They are the fruit of seeds you planted in consciousness, weeks, months, or even years ago. Seeds you may not even remember planting. When you look at a fact, you are not looking at reality. You are looking at a shadow. You are looking at the end result of an old state of consciousness that you once occupied. And here is what you must understand. A fact has no power except the power you give it by continuing to assume it must remain a fact. What you see before you at this very moment is nothing more than the echo of past thoughts, old beliefs, and yesterday's assumptions. It is a photograph of a moment long gone, a snapshot of a mind you no longer have to live with. The greatest error you can make is to look at this picture and call it truth. The truth is not what is before your eyes. The truth is what you hold in the quiet of your imagination. The truth is the state you dare to inhabit, the reality you choose to claim as your own. The world will show you the reflection of your inner state, but only after a delay. So if you want tomorrow to look different, you must stop letting today dictate how you feel. Ignore the facts. They will try to speak loudly. They will wave their hands and demand your attention. They will tell you what's real, what's possible, and what's likely. The doctor will show you test results. The banker will show you numbers. People will show you their doubt. But facts are poor prophets. They only know the past. You are the creator of the future. So just keep assuming. Assume that the desire is already fulfilled. Walk through your days as the one who has already received it. When you wake up in the morning, feel the satisfaction of it. When you go to bed at night, rest in the comfort of it. Let your assumption be more real to you than any circumstance. At first, your senses will argue. They will show you a bank account you don't like, a relationship you don't yet have, a body you wish were different, a situation that appears unchangeable. Smile at these things, for they are only the fading remnants of a life you have outgrown. Do not fight them. Do not fear them. Just ignore them. Then keep living in the end. Reality is just a reflection. What stands before you in this moment is not a measure of your worth, your potential, or your destiny. It is simply a reflection of what you once believed, once felt, once assumed about yourself and the world. Every circumstance you see right now is the result of old mental patterns, thoughts that have already done their work. It is the past wearing the costume of the present. And just like the shadow on the ground lags behind the person who casts it, your current reality lags behind your inner state. You must understand, present conditions are not telling you who you are, but who you were. They are echoes, delayed responses, fragments of an old script you've already outgrown. And if you allow yourself to judge your future based on this shadow, you will chain yourself to a cycle that repeats endlessly. This is why it is so vital to stop reacting to what is and start creating from what will be. Your outer world is always one step behind your inner world. By the time you can see, hear, or touch a thing, it has already been set in motion by an earlier state of mind. This means that whatever displeases you right now is not your enemy. It is simply outdated. Like an old photograph, it no longer represents your living truth. The danger comes when you forget this and begin to emotionally engage with what you dislike. The moment you give it your attention, your fear, or your frustration, you begin planting the seeds to experience more of it. The wise creator does not take present circumstances as an instruction for how to feel. They know that feelings are the blueprint of tomorrow. So they refuse to let the current picture dictate their mood. Instead, they withdraw their focus from the unwanted and place it firmly on the unseen vision they have chosen. They treat the present like a letter that was mailed weeks ago. It has already been written. They know that if they want a different letter tomorrow, they must write something new today. When you understand this, life changes. You no longer panic when something unwanted appears, because you know it is already on its way out. You no longer rush to fix the outer, because you know the inner has already taken care of it. You stop begging circumstances to change, and instead tend to the only thing that truly matters, your state of being. This is the power of detachment from the old. You don't fight it, you don't hate it, you simply recognize that it's not current, not alive, not defining you anymore. You thank it for its message. It is here to show you where you once stood. And then you move on. You live mentally from the place you wish to be, and you hold to it with quiet persistence. In time, the old fades away entirely, and the world catches up to the self you have already become. Then you'll see with your own eyes. Reality was never telling you the truth. It was only telling you the past. Everything begins in the unseen. Before any event unfolds, before any change is witnessed, before any dream becomes tangible, it exists in the quiet realm of thought and belief. The invisible always comes first. Your mind is the soil, and every assumption you hold is a seed planted deep within it. Whether you plant seeds of fear or seeds of faith, they will take root. Whether you nurture visions of lack or visions of abundance, they will grow. The world you walk through is nothing more than the harvest of what you have been growing inside. The mistake most people make is to judge life only by what they can see. They forget that what is visible is already the end of a process, not the beginning. The tree is not born when you notice it. It began long ago as a seed beneath the surface. Likewise, the success, the love, the health, the wealth you desire will not appear out of nowhere. It is born the moment you assume it is already yours, the moment you feel the reality of it in your inner world. This is why you must be intentional with the seeds you plant. Every thought charged with emotion, every assumption you accept as truth is dropped into the fertile soil of your subconscious. And once it's planted, it grows. Whether you notice it or not, if you spend your days replaying fears, expecting disappointment, or believing in limitations, you are watering weeds. These weeds do not ask your permission to grow. They thrive in the attention you give them. But you have the choice to plant something different. You can choose to assume that your desire is already a reality. You can choose to hold that assumption as if it were sacred, tending to it daily with your thoughts and feelings. When doubt appears, you refuse to feed it. When appearances contradict your vision, you remind yourself that they are simply the remnants of old seeds, and you let them pass without attention. It is not your job to dig up the seed every day to see if it's growing. In fact, doing so only delays the process. Your task is to water it with belief, to keep the soil warm with the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and to protect it from the weeds of fear and frustration. The harvest will come in its own time. You cannot rush the unfolding any more than you can force a flower to bloom before it is ready. When you truly grasp this, you stop living as a victim of circumstances. You stop being fooled by the outer world because you know the invisible comes first. The moment you claim it within, the seed is planted. The harvest is inevitable. So stop tending to weeds. Stop feeding the unwanted with your attention. Instead, water your seed with faith. Nurture it with gratitude, and trust that what you cannot yet see is already alive beneath the surface, growing into the life you have chosen. The moment you decide what you want, your task is not to wait for proof. It is to live from the end, as if the desire were already fulfilled. The greatest mistake is to stand still, scanning the world for signs, measuring progress by outer changes. This keeps you in a state of waiting, and waiting only creates more waiting. Instead, you must step into the role now, mentally and emotionally embodying the person who already has the thing you desire. You cannot think of yourself as poor and expect to live in wealth. You cannot see yourself as unloved and expect to be cherished. You cannot carry the feeling of someday and expect the gift to arrive today. What you hold in your mind and heart becomes your reality. Not what you wish for in the distance, but what you claim in the present. When you assume it's done, you stop approaching your desire as a request and start approaching it as a fact. This is not about pretending or forcing yourself to believe through sheer willpower. It is about entering into a state of being where you naturally feel the truth of your assumption. You do this by asking yourself, if I already had it, how would I think? How would I walk? How would I speak to others? How would I treat myself? Then you live according to those answers, even if your senses try to convince you otherwise. At first, this may feel strange, because your outer reality will still carry the residue of the old state. But do not be discouraged. Outer conditions are slow to catch up. They are the shadow, not the substance. The substance is the inner state you hold unwaveringly. Your mind is the director. The world is the stage. The moment you accept the role inwardly, the scene begins to change outwardly. Do not wait for circumstances to give you permission to feel successful, happy, loved, or abundant. Decide to feel it now. When you live from that inner certainty, the world will mirror it back to you in ways you could never predict. Opportunities will arise. People will respond differently. And events will arrange themselves in your favor. Not because you forced them, but because you align with the version of you who already lives in that reality. The key is persistence. You cannot step into the role for an hour and then return to doubt for the rest of the day. Hold the state as naturally as you hold your own name. Carry it in your posture, your words, and your inner dialogue. If you fall into old patterns, gently return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. When you assume as if it's done, you collapse the gap between desire and experience. You are no longer someone trying to get there. You are someone who is already there in consciousness. And the world has no choice but to follow. The evidence will appear, but only after you've stopped looking for it and started living from it. Silence the senses. There will always be voices, some from others, some from within, that try to tell you what is possible and what is not. They will measure your potential by your current situation, by your past failures, or by their own limited vision. If you allow these voices to dictate your thinking, you'll find yourself trapped in the same reality they believe in. The truth is, those outer opinions and visible circumstances are powerless unless you give them power through your attention and acceptance. The outer voice often comes disguised as common sense, practical advice, or just being realistic. But what it is really doing is binding you to the known and the visible, keeping you from stepping into the unseen, where your desire is already alive. If you want to create something new, you must learn to silence these outer voices. You do not silence them by arguing or convincing others to agree with you. You silence them by withdrawing your mental and emotional energy from their words. Your senses too will try to persuade you. They will present you with facts, numbers, and images that seem immovable. They will whisper, "Look, nothing has changed. This is your reality." But your senses are reporters of the past, not prophets of the future. They can only confirm what has already been created through your previous states of mind. If what you see and hear contradicts your desire, remind yourself that it is only the fading echo of old beliefs. This is why inner discipline is so important. You must become the guardian of your own mind. When doubt tries to speak, you gently turn your attention back to the vision you've chosen. When fear presents its case, you refuse to sit in its courtroom. When people insist that you are foolish for believing in what they cannot see, you silently bless them and return to your inner knowing. The power to manifest is not found in convincing the world to support your dream. It is found in convincing yourself so completely that the world has no choice but to rearrange itself accordingly. This is why you must not let the noise of others or the evidence of your senses shake your conviction. Every moment you allow yourself to be swayed by the outer world, you water the seeds of doubt. But every moment you hold fast to your chosen assumption, you strengthen the roots of your new reality. There will be times when the silence feels lonely, when it seems easier to agree with the loudest voice or to surrender to the facts. But remember, every great change begins in solitude, in the quiet place where belief is nurtured without interference. So guard that place. Protect it. Keep it free from the weeds of doubt and fear. Ignore the doubters. Ignore the circumstances. Ignore even the reports of your own senses if they disagree with your desire. The only voice that matters is the one within you that says, "It is done." Persist through contradiction. Persistence is the quiet, unwavering decision to hold to your chosen assumption, regardless of what the world shows you. It is the understanding that the outer world is slow to reflect inner change, and that during this delay the old reality may still appear strong, solid, and unshakable. Many people abandon their vision in this waiting period, thinking nothing is happening, when in truth everything is already in motion beneath the surface. The old reality is like a shadow. It lingers for a while even after the light has shifted. Just because you cannot yet see the new conditions does not mean they are not on their way. In fact, the very moment you have assumed your desire as true, the process of creation begins. But if you look for constant proof, you pull yourself out of the state that makes fulfillment inevitable. Proof is the harvest. Assumption is the seed. The seed does not need you to keep digging it up. It needs you to trust. It will grow. Persistence means living in your chosen reality even when the evidence screams otherwise. It means refusing to let the temporary appearance of the old state dictate how you feel or what you believe. This is not stubbornness for its own sake. It is loyalty to the vision you have chosen. When the outer contradicts you, you do not argue with it. You simply ignore it and return to the inner world where the desire is already fulfilled. There will be times when nothing seems to be moving. You may feel like you are standing still while your vision remains far away. In those moments, remember that movement is happening in ways you cannot yet perceive. The world of form is rearranging itself. People and events are aligning, and unseen doors are preparing to open. Your only job is to keep the inner state alive, to remain the person who already has what they desire, even in the absence of proof. Persistence is also a test of faith, not faith in luck or chance, but faith in the law, that the inner creates the outer. If you know this to be true, there is no reason to give in to impatience or doubt. Time becomes irrelevant, because the outcome is certain. The only variable is whether you will hold your assumption long enough for it to solidify into fact. When you persist, you become unshakable. You no longer chase proof, because you understand it must appear. You stop measuring your progress by what is visible, and start measuring it by your ability to remain in the state you have chosen. And then one day the world bends to your assumption so naturally that it feels as if it could never have been any other way. The old reality fades like a dream, and the new one stands before you, not because you demanded proof, but because you persisted until proof had no choice but to arrive. In the end, the power to transform your life lies not in reacting to what you see, but in mastering what you assume. Reality as it stands today is nothing more than the echo of past beliefs, a delayed reflection of states you no longer need to accept. The invisible comes first. Every change begins in the unseen realm of thought and feeling. By assuming as if your desire is already done, silencing the outer voices, living in the end daily, and persisting without the need for proof, you position yourself as the true creator of your experience. The world may resist at first. The illusion of the old may seem stubborn. But if you hold your assumption with faith and persistence, reality will bend. It always does. Your role is not to chase, beg, or plead. It is to choose, believe, and remain. The inner must be honored before the outer can reflect it. And the moment you live from your chosen state, the rest becomes inevitable. Stay loyal to your vision. Ignore what contradicts it, and trust that what you have claimed within is already yours. The world will catch up, so ignore the facts. Keep assuming, and watch as your assumption hardens into the most beautiful fact you've ever witnessed. Thank you and good evening. This is Best of Lectures. I will see you in the next video.